Okay, all right. So now we're going to go on to page 154 and 155. We're actually going to do some harmonization using tonic and dominant chords, okay? So let's read through, I'm going to read through the rules for harmonization that they have right next to that. All right, so harmonize each of these melodies with tonic or dominant. So 1 or 5 or 5/7. Right now we're going to stick with the 5/7 and use the chords that we were talking about just in the last time, the 5/6/5 chords. Okay? So, use tonic when most of the melody notes are scale tones 1, 3, and 5. Okay? Use dominant when most of the melody notes are scale tones 2, 4, 5, and 7. You should begin and end on tonic, and dominant's most of the time going to become before tonic at the end of a piece. Okay? Those are some general hints for you. I actually have someone who wrote in Roman numerals and the chord names above and below it, above and below the examples and everything. So let's take a look right there. So the first measure, I'm going to walk you through this for the first two, and then I'm going to let you do the others on your own. So first measure, first of all, we're in D major. Okay? So our one chord is going to be a D major chord. Our 5/6/5 is going to be an A7. So C sharp, G, and A. Okay? All right. So first measure, we just have F sharp. That's 3 of our root chord. So we're going to put D right here. I'm going to put 1 down there. Okay? I would write both of them and then have your eyes follow whichever one you prefer, whether it's Roman numerals or whether it's just chord names. I prefer chord names just because I learned those first before Roman numerals. Okay, next measure, same thing. Okay, next measure, we have an E thrown in there, but our main notes are going to be F sharp, so we're going to keep that on D. Now, this next measure, we've got an A and a G. A is in both chords, but G is definitely in our A7, in our 5/6/5 chord. So, and also to switch things up, we are going to put that right there. Okay? Now, next measure after that, we just have an E that's only in our 5/6/5 chord. Okay? So then after that, another E, same thing. Now, we have E, A, and G. So those notes are all found in our 5/7. Only one of them is going to be found in our one chord. So, rule, A7, 5/6/5 again. Now, if you're a little confused on that, you can also look at the next measure and see if you can figure out that chord. Since there's an F sharp there, it has to be 1. So more than likely, we're going to have a 5/6/5 before we cadence to the 1. Okay? All right, so next line. Let me scoot you up a little bit. There we go. Next line, we've got same thing actually for the first 4 measures of this. So we're just going to copy and paste basically. So 1, so D, the first 3 measures, and then 5/6/5, or A7 for the 4th measure. So 9, 10, 11 are D, and then 12 is A7. Next measure after that, we've got E, F sharp, G. Our main notes, the one that we have more of, is going to be in a 5/7 chord. Okay? Or in this case, a 5/6/5. Next measure, we've got B, A, and C sharp. So this one, B really isn't in either of these chords, so you can ignore that one. Let's take a look at what happens next to see if we can figure out. It's the last 2 measures. It has a tied note, so it's got to be 1. Mainly because of the D, but also just because we're ending the piece. So this chord right before it is going to be, keep writing, 7, 5/6/5 chord. Okay, let's see if we can figure out chords then. So for the first measure, it's 1, 1, 1. Now 5/6/5, so we're going to remember this whole step right here, and then we need a C sharp right here. A7 again. Again. Good. Okay. This shouldn't be too hard since you're bouncing back and forth between 2 chords. As long as you're comfortable with those chords, you can pretty much just sight read and put those hands together, okay? So let's go ahead and try to put those together. All right, so 1, 2, 3, 1, ready, go. So, and again, 1. Now we're moving to 5, 6, 5. Again, 6, 5 again, and then one last measure of it. Back to 1. Cool. 1, 1, 1. 5, 6, 5. 5, 6, 5 again. 1, and then you can repeat that if you'd like to, or you can let it die away with the rest of it. Okay? Since this is the first week that we're doing it, we're not going to worry about transposition right now. Let's go ahead and move on to the second one. This one's a little bit shorter, so hopefully it shouldn't take us quite as long. Okay? In the first example, if you wanted to get fancy with that, you could do that broken chord accompaniment that they have. So when you do the 5, 6, 5, it's going to be C, G, A, C, G, A, like that. Okay? All right, let's move to 6-13, Cucaracha. I'm going to have this stuck in my head all day because I was just playing it right before this. And not my favorite piece in the world, but it's pretty easy to harmonize, so we're going to do our best. Okay. All right, so our key is C major. We have no sharps, no flats. So right off the bat, our first measure, we have C, E, and G. So we have the outlining of our 1 chord. So we have a C chord. Okay? Next measure, C and E, it's got to be 1. Okay? Next measure might be a little bit weird. So let's look at the next measure after that. Measure 4. We just have straight G's. That's probably, it could be either one. So let's look at the next measure after that. We've got D, or B, D, and G. So that's definitely 5, 6, 5. So measure 5, G7, or 5, 6, 5. So let's go back. I would keep in measure 3 on 1, mainly because the melody would sound really odd with 5, 6, 5. Then in the next measure, since we just have straight G's, we can move to a G7. Okay? Then we sit on G7 for the next measure. Next measure after that has to be, because we have B and D, which are only in G7. Okay? Next measure after that, very last measure is definitely going to be a 1 chord, so D, or not a D, C. Someone scratched and wrote transposed to D major, so I read that first. Okay, so the measure before that is likely going to, if we do a C chord, that's just going to sound weird. So we're going to do G7. Don't ever play with a pencil in your hand, it's really hard. Okay, so get really comfortable with moving from C to 5, 6, 5, from 1 to 1, 6, 5. Okay, we're going to go very slow. I know that this is normally a pretty fast piece. We're going to go slow. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 1, and 2, and go. That's definitely going to test you on your rhythmic abilities, but I hope that that makes a little bit of sense and that by the second one it's easier. So for the next video, we're going to I'm just going to let you guys have some time to work on writing in the chords and everything, and yeah, I think that is it for this video. So next video we're going to go into page 155 and do 6-14 and 15.